run it through as we learn and grow. True wisdom, a newfound glow. A light shines in, casts away all evil sin. No attachment, no aversion, untainted by diversion. Reach your hands toward the sky as a toast to a greater life. A life of golden glory. This is how they'll tell our story.
Beauty is indeed in the way we live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special WAC stream this evening. With us, we have Sun Vessel, who is I would say, dark neo-folk singer-songwriter from Down Under, i.e. Australia. Welcome, Sun Vessel.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Love this new album. That's the main thing we're talking about this evening, is this album that you just released called Etched in Eternity. If you don't mind, I was going to read this description I did for it. You seem to think it was a decent kind of a summary of it, and then I'll hear your thoughts on it. So Sun Vessel's Etched in Eternity is a very atmospheric 10-track neo-folk album with dark undertones, yet it has a hopeful and unflinching overall thrust. With trance-like drones and sweet melodic release, its balanced juxtapositions are both warm and sobering, giving proper reverence to our glorious past while gazing unfazed into the future, all with an Australian bent. So, anyway, This is a great album, and congratulations on the release of it.
Thank you.
I was wondering if maybe you could kind of tell us about the inspiration behind the album, if you've got anything to say about that.
Yeah, well, I sort of, after I did the first EP, I knew I was going to do an album to follow up. I wasn't sure how long it would take, or how many songs would be on it, or how long it was going to be, or anything. But I sort of settled for this 10-track album with sort of 40, I think it's about 42 minutes, just in case I ever wanted to make a vinyl out of it, which I do want to do one day. But I think that's a good sort of time frame for an album. But the inspiration was I just really needed to create again, and it's been a few. I started this in, I think, June of last year, and I was on this sort of several years long creative break with anything artistic or music. Well, I say that, but I was sort of doing little bits and bobs, but mostly I wasn't really doing anything seriously. So I decided to come back and sort of just dive into it and start a music project. And so, yeah, I mean, that's sort of the turbulence of the last few years sort of is a big inspiration for it. But also, the things that are timeless are sort of like we're in this big cycle, and I sort of wanted to sort of reflect both of those things in the album. We're in this sort of eternal cycle, but we're sort of we you know, with like fixed things like the natural law or dharma, and but you know, we're sort of we're in this time of great shift, you know, this sort of phenomenal where everything's very unstable and chaotic, and so yeah, does that make sense? I sort of wanted to sort of infuse both of these sort of seeming sort of juxtapositions in this album.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, definitely. And I mean that, with the theme of etched in eternity, I think, the album name is getting that across, but also in the lyrics, a lot of what you're saying. I feel like it's nice because I feel like you're both looking backward and to the future with an optimism, if I could say that. And it's like would you say that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's sort of so excuse me, with my music, with my lyrics. I try to make them as sober as I can, so not like unreasonably hopeful, but not sort of pessimistic either.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's nice. I mean, that definitely strikes a chord with me. And I like it too because, it has the element of what a lot of people in our spheres kind of do, which is looking to the past. But I feel like there's not always like a bringing us to the present and the future. There's almost sometimes a little bit of a fetishization. But like you're saying, like we're part of this cycle, and like we're entering a new epoch, or whatever. There's all these overlapping things. We're in this chaotic period.
Cycles within cycles, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're like, everything is just crazy, and people are just kind of trying to ride whatever wave or waves that they're on. But I think that, or is pulling them in a direction. Everybody's got all these different currents. But I think that's why something like, thinking of something and conceptualize of something being etched in eternity is like, it's really important that people have something to hold on to in a period of time like this, and not
That's right,
just
yeah.
backward looking, like, what I was saying, but like
Yeah.
forward as well.
You have to keep creating. It's not like everything necessarily hasn't been done, but you have to sort of reify that. You have to keep the ball rolling and
Exactly.
look to the past for inspiration. Live too much in the past, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
definitely. Yeah, definitely, man. I'm very much on board with that. Something else you said there that I really like. That's cool that you were thinking about the length of the album because you were thinking about vinyl. Like, I love vinyl. I love the sound of vinyl, and that's a really
Yeah,
cool idea. And I can definitely see that. I can hear this album. I think it would work well on vinyl. Not everything like does that really make sense, but this has like a warmth to it. Your music does, and I think the way you mix it. So that would be nice. I think that'd be a nice
thank you.
touch to have it on vinyl.
Yeah. I have some. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but I am liaising with some people about CD release, but
Cool.
nothing set in stone yet. But I think physical stuff is cool, so I definitely want to get something physical going.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We've been trying to do more of that with Whack because we're, we've entered this age of the immaterial, the hyper
Mm.
reality, as Dave
Yeah.
Martell has been talking.
Yeah, that was a great lecture. Yeah.
Nice. You caught that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he and I have been going back and forth about all that stuff and having some really interesting conversations. He's going to come back for a part two, but
Yeah,
you know,
that's great. He touched on so many important things concerning cyberspace and how we relate to it.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that the physical goods are kind of part of that hyper romanticism, kind of like vinyl, and people really loving that medium, and it's like, it's just
Yeah.
the medium. It means something. It's nostalgia, but it's also that it has a warmth to the actual sound of it. The album
Yeah.
artwork is more important because it's so much bigger and more pronounced on an album.
Mm.
It's like on a
I
when
think
it's a
as
little.
well,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was just gonna say as well as you can actually touch the music, like the
Yeah,
grooves, you
yeah.
know. It's the only medium you can play without electricity as well. It's like a wind-up gramophone if you didn't have electricity.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
I thought that
that's
was pretty
important,
cool.
right?
Yeah,
That's yeah. We might get to that point.
it's the
Everybody,
apocalypse.
where are music preppers out there getting their gramophones all set up, their record
Got
collection
their
just in
big
case,
collection.
carrying around. I'm gonna spin tonight.
Yeah.
Fuku, fuku, fuku.
God,
All
that'd be
right.
like a crate of vinyls is so heavy. I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
if you've lifted one, but yeah. Oh man, that's so heavy.
yeah. It's funny actually. My mom was just telling me she was gonna give me. My dad's trying to get rid of some of a bunch of the stuff he's got. He's a little bit of a hoarder, not real bad, but kind of. And he's gonna give me like his record collection. He's got some good stuff. He's
Oh,
got a
nice,
Kenny
nice.
Rogers, The Gambler. He's got that
Just
greatest
dropped in.
hits. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's a classic too.
Yeah.
Love me some Kenny Rogers. But yeah. Okay. So you were talking about taking an artistic break there. Have you been playing music for a while? Can you give us a little bit of an idea of like how you started playing and when you started playing?
Yeah, well, I've been playing for my entire life. My first instrument, you probably wouldn't expect it, but it was actually trombone. Um, and I played in multiple brass bands in school, and that was when I was about, when I start, like 8 years old or something. So I learnt to read music, um, and eventually I forgot how to read music when I stopped playing that, and I started learning guitar in high school. Uh, Learned drums at the same time, so I've been playing those for a while. Um, what else? Keyboards I learnt, uh, and a few other things. I've sort of just buy. Sometimes I just buy instruments and try to play them, you know. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I've been playing music for a while, and I've been in a lot of bands in my life. But I think with this, I'm able to really like express myself without any sort of inhibitions. So I've sort of been really appreciating getting back to it because yeah, I sort of took a break for like 4 years of like any sort of band activity, and yeah, I just decided it's time to do something. So
Nice. What did you play like when you're in bands? Did you play different stuff or were you usually the singer?
a lot of different stuff actually. Sort of almost, I feel like I played every rock instrument in a band, like drums, bass, guitar, and singing, uh, keyboards as well. Yeah, like synth.
Nice. Any genres that you leaned into back then?
Yeah, well, in my teenage years, I was playing a bit of metal, and
Nice.
then I sort of started playing a bit of post-punk when I got out of high school. Just sort of like Joy Division kind of thing, and that was really fun. But none of these bands really lasted very long. They were quite tenuous, you know. It's really hard to find like get a band together of people who are very interested and committed.
Yeah,
So
that's the experience I've found, and I've heard a lot of musicians say the same thing. I've kind of wondered, it's like I feel like it's almost because of this kind of hyper individualism. I mean, at least that's very much the way it is in the States. Like everybody's kind of, it's just hard to get people to kind of collectively work together and play roles, even in like a band or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have any
yeah,
thoughts on
for
that.
sure. Yeah, well, just getting people together. I mean, I've been in bands where I've been like the main director of everything, um, and the writer and everything, and I've been in bands where I've done none of that. You know, just taken a back seat. So I've seen every angle, and I think lifestyle of like band life plays a big part in it as well because it's very like this music scene is pretty degenerate. There's no doubt about it, and so there's a lot of drinking and stuff a lot of the time. And the reason I took a big break from band scene or anything like that is because I wanted to just get so far away from that, and sort of, if I was going to do it again, I'd start afresh and not sort of start on that basis, if you know what I mean, like not have that as the glue. It's sort of, you know, debauched rock music scene kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a big problem, you know, because that's something I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy having a few drinks and hanging out and partying
There's
a
nothing
bit.
wrong with few drinks.
Right, exactly. You know, but like I've never been a big fan of the whole they really glorify people doing drugs and doing heavy stuff, and like they try to make that look cool. They do that, they push that further in like film, you know, films of rock stars and every way they paint it. And really it destroys the people themselves. And I was always like terrified of getting too deep into that world, because you just see the way they live, and like people age really badly, and you know.
Yeah, you don't want to join the 27 club,
Right, yeah, exactly.
if you know what that is.
Oh yeah, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin,
Yeah.
many,
Pretty long list.
yeah, many others. Yeah, the for anybody who doesn't know, that's all the like famous musicians who died at 27, usually by you know, drug overdose most of the time, just living too hard.
Self-inflicted.
Right. And it's sad, like all these like super talented people. It kind of makes you wonder about, I mean, I know artists, you know, tend to we have a tendency towards the kind of a dark side, you know, as far as like we get drawn into depression, and it's just a tendency of people with that kind of sensibility. But
Yeah,
the drugs
inwardness.
sorry, what's that?
Well, I think with a musician, like, you know, we write things, and so we're quite inward a lot of the time. But in order to break out, I think a lot of people feel the need to like consume a lot of intoxicants in order to like communicate with the outside world or something, which I reject. But I think that's what leads a lot of these people into that. Is just like going from being a really introverted sort of writing person to trying to break out with their music, and then just getting sucked into the vortex of trying to fit in with somebody's idea of coolness or what have you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they also will use drugs to kind of as a crutch to help them be less inhibited in their writing, you know, and creation and performance. Kind of I think what you're
True,
saying
yeah.
is, you know, like especially with performance, if you're introverted, like, you know, I know some people with some really bad stage fright, and like, yeah, it just terrifies them to be on stage. And a lot of these people, you know, from the 27 club and just artists in general, they are sensitive souls, so it's like really overwhelming. So yeah, some people kind of turn to those things. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you. I've always tried to, I was never like a straight edge or anything, but I just tried to, you know, like I didn't want to get deeply immersed in that world. It's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, because I don't. I mean, I don't think it has to be that way. You know.
Yeah, that's always been my thing about it, is I think you can be healthy and make great art. And I personally think that, you know, there's a kind of a way to get to that mental space where you can create really brilliant stuff isn't that isn't like drugs. You know what I mean? It's like there's a way
Yeah.
to channel those things, but it's just harder. And a lot of people want the like easy way, the shortcut. But like you have to kind of you have to work on yourself to get to that space, hone your skills, but also kind of like develop as a person to be able to channel what it is that you kind of want to get through. That's my take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would never be able to write the stuff that I'm writing now if I was the person I was 5 years ago. Um, it's just like my stuff, as I said, my lyrics are quite sober, and I think the music is too. It's reflecting something completely different to how I might have written uh, 5 years ago or something, or 10 years or whatever. It's just I'm reaching. I like to think I'm reaching upward and not downward,
Yeah, well, I think
while
so,
not
man.
while still not sort of veering away from the obvious fact that like life is a roller coaster. It's not just one thing or another. It's everything.
Yeah, I think that I think that you're successfully doing that. I see that like even in your name, Sun Vessel. Actually, Olivia over on YouTube was saying that she like really likes the name Sun Vessel,
Thank you.
and I agree.
I really
That's
like Olivia's music.
oh cool. Yeah, she's super talented. She's working on a new album as well.
Yeah,
Um,
can't wait.
yeah, it's gonna be good. But yeah, I like that idea, like reaching up rather than down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I like that idea of kind of like trying to kind of pull people up, being more transcendent, and even like this is kind of similar, but like Bill Hicks, the comedian. I know we could all, degeneracy this or that. I
yeah,
I liked him. I think he was really brilliant in his for the time he was in. But he was like never talk down to your audience. Like I thought that was cool because like no one ever says that. Everyone always tells you to like change what you're doing, to dumb it down, to water it down so it'll have broader appeal. And
mm,
he didn't necessarily mean like be as esoteric as possible, but I think he just meant just don't because I feel like he kind of meant that in a way. It's like you want to bring people up. You know.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I think yeah, you want to bring people up, and you want to sort of, but at the same time, like in doing that, you don't want to just be like everything's great, everything's fine, in my lyrics or whatever.
Right. Right.
Like you sort of, I think if you stare things in the face, you sort of like if you stare darkness in the face, you sort of disempower it a bit, you know. So there's the confrontation of certain topics which should take place and need to
Right.
take place, and
Yes.
it doesn't have to be, worshipping these topics, like a lot of the, a lot of musicians and bands sort of they almost worship this darkness, even
Right.
even if they know that it's destroying them, they just sort of they really get pulled into it. But you can cover these topics without getting pulled into it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's good. I like people who confront the darkness, like you're saying. I mean, I always like music that has my personal taste. I mean, I like some poppy, like, bubblegum kind of stuff, but like, I almost always like something that has a bit of a dark edge to it because it is, it's just more real. Like there is a darkness that we're facing, especially in this day and age. We see the crazy stuff we see and absorb every day on social media and a lot of people in their real lives. It's like
Hmm.
so the music. I feel the best music is going to reflect that. But it'll also have
Yeah,
that mixture, a blend of also like it's not all bad. You don't want to shoegaze completely and kind of disappear up your own crease, so to speak.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. I think that happens too much, and we need to be heading more towards something wholesome. A wholesome way of confronting things that are very much real in this world. Um, we need to be sort of arming ourselves with these skills of confrontation, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. And also so much of the kind of the battle that we're in, excuse me, the is it is kind of mental, it's psychological, it's spiritual if you're into that. You know
It's
what I mean?
everything. It's
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like,
Nothing is untouched.
right. So yeah, we got to kind of like prepare ourselves and moralize ourselves and other people on those fronts.
Yeah, absolutely. The fish rots from the head down. So
True.
when
Very
you,
true.
but what I mean by that is, that's like the reason we've fallen so far is because we turned our back on, what was the most important, the spiritual health of
Right.
the folk.
Right.
So,
No, absolutely.
and in which everything else comes from, like physical health will come from a healthy mind, come from a healthy spirit.
Absolutely. So, who are some of your influences, would you say?
Well, I'm influenced by a lot of stuff, and I'll try to cover as much as I can. But as far as music and sort of the spirit of the music goes, like definitely the classic neo-folk stuff like Death in June, Of the Wand and the Moon, Darkwood, Forseti, that sort of thing. But also like paleo folk, I suppose you would call it. Like Nick Drake has been a huge influence on me, and he actually is pretty much his music inspired me to learn finger picking. So
Nice. I
there's
love
something
Nick
really
Drake.
special about that.
He's
Yeah,
got
he's
the
fantastic.
the tone of his voice is great.
Yeah,
I love it. Very very
so
smooth.
unique. Just the way he writes as well. I just don't even know how he did that. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so him, like Jackson C. Frank is another one. He's sort of it's very very kind of heavy music. In the set, like it's folk, but it's like heavy lyrically. I would say it's a lot less wispy and dreamlike than Nick Drake is. But yeah, I mean that sort of stuff. But also stuff like Joy Division. I mean, stuff like that's always been pretty big influence on me. Um, I feel like Ian Curtis's lyrics as well, as fatalistic as they are, there is like a sobriety to them, uh, and the music is fantastic as well. So, but yeah, I mean, like even classical, like Rachmaninoff being one of my favorite composers, and like Debussy and stuff. Uh, I really love that stuff so much. So there's some of
Nice.
my main influences, and things like Dead Can Dance certainly. So
You
I
and
don't know
Elliott
if you know
Smith.
them.
I'm familiar with the name. I don't know if I could think of a tune off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've heard Elliott Smith. I've heard of. Yeah, I've heard some of his stuff. I never got hugely into him, but yeah, I've heard some stuff. I had some friends that were really into him.
Nice. Yeah, I just bring that up because we were talking about the darkness and the drugs, and he he was all
Yeah,
about that.
he's one of them.
Yeah, that's just something my friend and I used to talk about. Is just like his what he sang about never evolved, and it was always just super dark, and like he was pining for some woman or he was pining for heroin. You know what I mean? And like it's kind of a good example.
Desire.
Yeah, of one of those people that just
Yeah,
they couldn't pull out of it. Super talented, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you identify too much with what you want, you know. And I mean, my music as well. It's heavily inspired by like I'd say my life in general is inspired by things like the Bhagavad Gita and other such religious texts like that, which basically inform everything that I do. And, that sort of profoundness that can't be found anywhere else. It can't be found in any material thing, but it informs what you do in the material world. As I say, it's like as above, so below.
nice. Um, I was wondering if do you have like a particular songwriting method? Is there kind of a way that you develop your songs?
Yeah, I have a few different ways, but most of it starts with just a guitar riff. Just me sitting down and strumming, and or picking or whatever, finger picking. But yeah, sometimes I'll have like a complete song structure before any lyrics, and sometimes I'll have like more lyrics, and I'll write the uh, the riffs according to that, and the sort of rhythm of the lyrics. Um, yeah, so those are sort of the two main ways that I write songs. But it's always rather spontaneous, and it always seems to fall into place rather easily, like almost like it just falls in, like a jigsaw.
That's great. That's what we want, right? That's better
Yeah,
than like painfully like having to pull it out of like a writer's
yeah,
block over the course of months or
yeah,
years or
yeah.
something.
I really haven't had since I've started Sun Vessel. I haven't had writer's block at all. Like I've just always had something to write, and I don't know if that'll keep on. I think it will, just because like how could it not? And there's just so much to write about, and so many ways to do it. I think that's why I chose the kind of music that I do as well. Is it's very like very versatile, and it can be sort of as built up or as stripped down as you want. Um, and you can have very simple things and very complex things sort of playing at the same time. And yeah, I just really like how it all falls together. So I think Sun Vessel originally it was either going to be like electronic with singing, or it's going to be like folky. And I think that sometimes I meet it in the middle, but it's mostly folky because I like having organic instruments as the basis, because there's a realism to it.
Yeah, I agree.
That said, I love like ambient techno and really good electronic stuff. So
Yeah, me too. I mean, I like both. I think at the moment, I feel like the balance is I'm leaning towards real stuff just because so much stuff is electronic. And you can also
yeah,
kind of almost anybody. I mean, there's still a lot of talent, of course, in making electronic music, but it's not the same as like playing a real instrument. You've played a lot of instruments,
yeah,
like just getting a bass
yeah,
drum to sound good. There's 10 dimensions you got to be good at to do that, but like so you can plop a little block into a computer program and have this amazing sounding bass drum, and it sounds exactly the same
yeah,
every time. And but yeah,
yeah.
it's
I
interesting.
think yeah, even with the electronic instruments that I have in my songs, they're all played manually. So
Nice.
I think the only thing programmed in this album is like the drum beat in True Abode, the second one, but that's like a drum beat with a tambourine, which is a real tambourine. So sort
Yeah,
of
nice.
it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or
Uh,
1 foot
you
in two camps, sort of thing.
right. I think it's good. I think it works better too. It's nice when you can blend electronic with real instruments. I like to hear that kind of thing because then you can kind of utilize the strengths of both sides.
Yeah, I agree exactly.
Let's see. So you're talking about Sun Vessel and like writing and the method and things. I was wondering, is is Sun Vessel, is this project like the first time you've written kind of in a, for lack of a better phrase, kind of like a red pilled mentality? Is this the first time you're kind of creating art through that lens, or have you been woke for a while?
Um, well, actually, like to the degree that I'm at now, yes, but no, because like even 10 years ago, I was that's really when it started for me, is when I started to get sort of clued into to how things were going and what is what, and like why there's so many lies that prevail as the narrative and are just accepted as truth. And so even lyrical content in older bands that I've done have reflected that. Um, but I think I've got like a much better understanding of things now than I did back then. Uh, so it's been a sort of slow grinding process, as it is with most people. But um, yeah, I mean, I've sort of been aware of things for a while in some degree or another.
Nice. Were there any events or anything in particular? Or was even in the beginning, was it kind of like a slow, a lot of people talk about like 2016 and 2015 was a big awakening for a lot of people. Just curious if there was any particular things that happened.
Yeah, well, I think my friend just started talking to me about things concerning particularly like race, and
Gotcha.
so I got into that through him, and then I started getting into like understanding all the statistics, all the sort of mundane stuff, and then I started to, because I've always been very interested in uh like the deeper meaning behind things. So I sort of I wanted to dive into the why is this happening, and what's informing this, what's informing like this whole dark age scenario. And so eventually I got into the traditionalist school with people like Evola and Genon and authors like that, and I got a much better understanding of why things were the way they were. But I've read people like Nietzsche as well, probably a bit before that. So I've always been pretty interested in philosophy. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that'll do it.
But the 20 you brought up the 2016 thing. I think that was a very very much this sort of like mass consciousness sort of shift. I definitely agree with you there, and it wasn't felt as much in my country because
Right.
it was it's like American, like with the whole Trump thing,
Yeah.
and everybody knows how that turned out. But I still think it was somewhat effective in bringing certain topics to the table that were just completely off limits before.
Yeah.
And it keeps happening now because think like how do people go about their daily lives without being able to at least ask a question about this or that event? Like it's staring them in the face. It's affecting their lives so viscerally now. And so even the most sort of quote unquote normie type begins to ask questions.
Yeah, for sure. And also, yeah, it was definitely very American. And also the Brexit, I think that was in 2016 or 2015? I think it was 2016.
Yeah, that took a long time to
Yeah,
to
that's
happen.
another thing that drug out, and I don't know if it really.
Yeah, and nothing really good came of it.
Yeah, it was another.
That I know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't
Anybody
know
from the UK?
right. Yeah, I don't know their politics terribly well, but it seemed like they basically, yeah, similar thing with what happened with Trump is like they drug it out, they fought tooth and nail every stupid little thing to where basically nothing that was voted for was achieved. None of the things that were
Yeah,
promised or what was
yeah,
supposed to come from that happened. And yeah, if anything, shit went the opposite way. I mean, I know they did I think with Brexit,
yeah,
some things did significantly change somewhat, but like with
yeah.
Trump,
But I
it
think
was
things
basically
changed
the same.
for the worse in some
Yeah.
ways as well.
Well, I think so too. I think that I think
So there's always the way that things are presented, and then there's the reality of it. And the Trump thing is a perfect example of that. Brexit is a perfect example of that. Like how it's perceived versus how it actually is.
yeah, with Trump, I'm glad that he won and I'm glad that he lost. So, won the first time
Yeah,
and lost the second time because like
mm,
4 more
well
years
deserved.
of pathetic coping. And yeah, I mean, at least that
Mm,
seemed like the will of the people, kind of, even though I also think they probably rigged the hell out of it. But with what he did, he didn't deserve to win with what he did. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it's a mess. And yeah, that's probably someone's going to get mad at me for saying that. But like, it's like, I think
People get
that,
mad at anything now.
right. I think that we're on a path that transcends who the political party is. You know what I mean?
It's all like it's
Yeah,
theater. This
it
is what I
is.
mean. Like there's a deeper meaning that runs through all of this, and what people like us are doing. I hope it makes a difference, and we can contribute, in a healthy way, getting back to sort of the cultural sphere. Because I mean, just talking about political theater too much is boring.
Yeah, we're at an interesting moment. I feel like, that's definitely my focus, and obviously your focus is. I think the cultural arena is where it's at, but so many people are so obsessed, and like podcasts where people just blather on about the hot topic of the week get much more interest than any of the stuff that we're doing over here. And it's just like, the long game is culture. And they knew that on the flip side, you know what I mean? Like on the other side of the
Mm.
aisle, so to speak, not the best way to put it, but you know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely, absolutely,
They
yeah.
understand the power of
Like
culture.
the left wing radicals
Yes.
and the things that were funding them and informing them, they understood, they knew.
that's how you change. You have to change people's like subconscious, like political is trying to like kind of change their
Absolutely.
conscious mind. You're trying to
Mm.
argue, they're throwing out statistics, but it's like you it's got to be a song that you hear on the radio, and it can't just be on the nose propaganda. It's just got to be like, I like
Mm.
this, this is good, this
Yeah.
feels good, the essence of this is positive. And then maybe down the road you look it up and you're like, oh, look at the crazy stuff that this sun vessel guy said. No, I'm just kidding. But,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
somebody, or like,
What a
oh,
what a
look who,
mad guy.
what a madman, look who he associates
Yeah.
with, or whatever. But it's like
Mm.
most people don't care about that. Look at what they've put up with to this point. Like they've
Oh
supported
yeah.
Disney and like
Mm.
Hollywood, and like we know what all these people are, and
Hmm.
they're demonic, and
Yeah, the emperor wears no clothes these days.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, interesting points for sure. But oh, I was going to say something. It passed my mind. If I remember it all, I'll bring it up.
Okay, yeah. Quick refresher. We were just talking about culture. This has been a huge thing that I've been thinking about lately. So it is kind of interesting to get to talk to individual artists about it. It's just like,
Mm.
I don't know. There's like a fatigue of the political discussion, but
Yeah.
it seems still hard to get traction on real cultural movement. You know what I mean? Like we're stuck in this
Yeah.
rut, and it's I bang my head against the wall like every day. Like how do we get people to like pay attention to something that's good? How do we get them to pay attention to what's happening in the now, not just what's from the past? And it's
Yeah.
tricky. I think it's just an uphill battle.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, we need everything. Let a thousand flowers blossom was what Mao said, and he was right. Um, we need all these different uh, approaches to the way that we sort of attack this, right? The way that we move toward it. We need culture. We need people who are like extremely dry political theorists, um, and then we need the most sort of visceral kind of artistic stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's a full spectrum, and we need it all. And I think pertaining to what you say about paying attention to good stuff, well, build it and they will come. So the more energy you spend channeling into something good and sort of building it up, then naturally you're going to attract the right people.
Yeah, I think that that's true. That's kind of always been my mentality with the White Art Collective, is like, put up this flag and just try to achieve a particular tone, you know what I mean? Especially in what we do, not being about other groups. That's, I think, of the path a lot of people go down.
Yeah, don't define yourself by your enemy.
Exactly.
Is an
It's
important thing.
there has to be an inner core. Our culture has to come from within our core, from a center, not us just
That's right.
reacting to things that people are doing. And I mean, I agree. I've always been of the mindset of like we need a kind of a spectrum of strategies. And I'm not knocking the political guys, the dry political theorists and the thing. I think we have an imbalance of that right now, and we need more culture. We need the stuff that like people can be steeped in. I think that the culture can appeal to a broader group, and that means all kinds of different
Of course.
stuff too, film and
Yeah.
music and visual and poetry, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Well, I think just looking at how this new album was received, it has reached uh, different spheres of people. I think something that's anywhere decent will always do that. I think I'm not talking it up or anything, but like just if you try to make something good, try to do the best that you can with it. Um, that's the most important thing, that we can do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great message and a great way to look at it. Just got to keep making the best stuff that we can, and just get it out as far as we can, and hopefully the right people will see it and be invigorated by it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, I think I don't really have any more questions. I figure we could wrap this up. I was going to end with a one of your other songs. And was there anything else that you wanted to say, or?
Nothing particularly comes to mind. Just thank you for having me, and it was really good to talk to you, Jeff.
Yeah, man, it was a pleasure to talk to you as well. Yeah, and again, genuinely, I think it's a great album. I think there's a lot of great lyrics, and I like the overall tone. You know, like we said before, it really strikes that a balance between, confronting the darkness, but also having optimism as well. So great
Yeah.
work.
Thank you so much.
All right. And guys, that's available. The digital album's available over on whackmedia.store if you want to pick that up. You can also check out Sun Vessel's Telegram channel. I think if you just look up Sun Vessel, you should be able to find it. I put it in the description as well, your link.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, thanks everybody for watching, and have a wonderful evening. Oops, that's the wrong song. 1 second, we'll get this last song up here.
One may fall down, I feel it strange. climbs above. Our torch shines brightly now